Hello everyone, my name is Taylor Rosenbaum. I am the owner, the artist, the designer, the hands of Solon Stitches. And today I'm going to teach you how to make the iconic granny square. And the reason I said iconic so dramatically is because when I think of crochet, this is the square, this is the motif, this is the icon behind crochet, the granny square. It was popularized in the 1970s, and crochet is commonly known as a grandma hobby. So when people associate crochet with yarn, they think granny square. So I'm going to teach you how to make a granny square today. And when you know how to make a granny square, that's going to unlock so many different skills and so many different things you can make. Because once you have a square, you just have to assemble them in a certain pattern, and you can wear vests, you can make totes, you can make hats, you can make dresses, literally anything. So I love granny squares, I'm addicted to them. And today I will be using Yarnspiration's Red Hearts yarn for this. This brown color is the color Cafe Latte. This blue color is Blue Wave, and the cream color is Aran, spelled A-R-A-N. So let's get into it. So what you are going to need, any size hook. My preferred size hook is the 5mm, and I love aluminum hooks. The yarn, of course, and that's really all you need because crochet is one of those low threshold projects. I'm holding the yarn with my dominant hand. I am right-handed, so my dominant hand is on the working side of the yarn, and by working, I mean the part that is closest to the skein. And I'm holding in my left hand the tail. So the tail is the furthest part from the skein. I'm gonna show you how to make a slip knot. Now this may be confusing. You may have to watch it 5 times. It is okay. Here is how I make my slip knots. I take my non-dominant hand and I make little pinchers. So I make my middle and thumb meet, my middle finger and my thumb meet. Make a little llama, little llama. So I'm gonna twist my wrist, twist it back to neutral, so that I make like a cross, an X. And then I take my pinchers, I go through the hole. You may have to make the hole a little bigger, it's okay. Make the hole a little bigger. I'm holding the cross with my dominant hand. I'm going to grab the working yarn. So again, the working yarn is the longer piece. Don't get the tail. Sometimes the tail likes to, oh, see, I messed up. I'm gonna make my pinchers, try to grab it and spin it. Put my fingers through the hole, grab the working yarn, pull it through to where you make a little slip knot. And there are so many different ways you can make a slip knot. If my way is not your way, please go on YouTube and find someone else's way. To tighten or to lessen the loop, you pull the yarns away from each other and it will tighten the hole. I'm gonna grab my hook, feed it through the loop, grab the tail with my dominant hand and pull up. You don't want it too tight. You want a little slippage right there so you don't make it too hard to work with, the yarn too hard to work with. Now I'm gonna wrap the yarn around my hand. I like going in between my index and my middle. I make a full loop around. I make another loop to my middle and index finger, but now I like to go over my index finger, grabbing it with my pinky, ring, and middle finger, and then making a little ping ping. And then I come back with my pinchers. Right hand is holding the tail. So I'm gonna do that again. And now I have tension. I want a little boing boing in there, not too much boing, not enough boing. You know, can't have it too loose, can't have it too tight. I'm now gonna hold my tail with my left hand, and my right hand is on this groove on my aluminum hook holding the slip knot. Okay? I'm gonna do what is called a yarn over. You're making an under motion, but the yarn is now on top of the hook. Okay? Do that again. And now I'm gonna turn my hook towards me. I like holding my hook kind of like how you would hold a fork upside down, or not upside down, but with the prongs facing upward. And now I'm gonna point it towards me, the hook, and pull it through. So that pull through motion is literally called pull through. So I'm gonna yarn over, pull through. One more time. Now I'm changing my grip so that I'm higher up on the yarn. Yarn over, pull through. And that yarn over, pull through motion is called a chain. And now we've chained 3. I'm gonna turn this over to where it shows back bumps. I'm gonna go into that first back bump. And now I have 2 loops on my hook. Yarn over, which means the yarn is on top of my hook. Turn the hook towards me, pull through, and now I have 2 loops on my hook. I'm gonna keep pulling. You may have to change your grip through, and that is called a slip stitch. A slip stitch. And now the hole is very small to where you're working in. There is like a little itty bitty hole in there. And this is why some people don't like working with the chain 3 method, because it requires finding this middle hole. But what I'm gonna do is I'm going to yarn over, go into the middle. Very small, it's very small, so you have to kind of like poke it through. Middle. I'm gonna yarn over, or I'm gonna pull through to where I now have 3 loops on my hook. And with tension, you see how I'm kind of like doing that motion to bring more yarn through? That's okay in the very beginning because the stitches are so small and so tight. Then I'm gonna yarn over again, pull through that first loop. Now there's 3. Pull through that second loop, and now there's 2. I'm going to yarn over again and pull through now both. That is called a double crochet. A double crochet, because I yarned over, I went through the middle, pulled up some yarn, yarned over again, went through 2 loops, yarned over again, went through the other 2 loops. So that is called a double crochet. So now I have 2 of those. I'm gonna yarn over, go through, pull through, bring up some yarn, so I have to pull up some more loopage. It's okay in the beginning if it's a little difficult. It's a little tight. And then yarn over, pull through, yarn over, pull through. So now I have 3 double crochets. I am going to chain 1, which was yarn over and pull through. I'm gonna yarn over, go through the middle, pull through, pull up some more yarn as much as I can so that it's not too tight. Yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, pull through 2. I am making what is called a cluster. So a cluster is a bunch, like a little grouping of chain or of stitches. Yarn over, go through the middle, and now you can kind of easily identify the middle now that you have 4 stitches there. You're gonna pull up, yarn over, pull through, yarn over, pull through. I like making my granny squares with 2 clusters, meaning 2 double crochets. Traditionally, it's 3 per cluster. So I'm gonna yarn over, boop, go through, pull up, bing, bing. So I have 3 double crochets. I'm gonna yarn over, pull through, make a chain. And I'm gonna repeat that 2 more times. Of making 3 double crochets, into my ring. That was one cluster. I'll make another. Okay, so I have 4 clusters. You know I have 4 clusters because you're counting the double crochets, the actual stitches. 1, 2, 3, and there's that gap because we chained 1. So that's cluster 1, 1, 2, 3. That's cluster 2, 1, 2, 3, cluster 3, 1, 2, 3, cluster 4. I'm gonna chain to make that separation, and we're going to slip stitch one more time. I like slip stitching at the top of the first double crochet. So I'm gonna go under the V's. So you see how there are V's at the top of every stitch? Those V's. I'm gonna go, get that tail out of the way. I'm gonna go under both sides of the V. So I went under both sides of the V, yarn over, pull through, and pull through the other loop. So that is your round 1 or row 1. Now round 2, and I did not do this my first round, I'm just now noticing, but normally you start off a round by chaining 3. With double crochets, you want to chain 3. So yarn over, pull through, yarn over, pull through, yarn over, pull through. You do that 3 times because that's gonna give you the height of a double crochet. Then you yarn over. And with granny squares, you see how you have the gap or that chain 1 space before it and the chain 1 space after your chain? I like to go in the chain space that's after that chain 3. So I yarned over, I'm gonna go backwards, push that yarn in the front, grab it, pull through, pull up to make like a good sizable loop, yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, pull through 3. So that chain 3 that we made technically does not count as a double crochet, but this one does, the first double that we did. So now we're gonna put 2 more in that backward, the chain space that's behind the chain 3. So yarn over, pull through, give yourself a nice sizable loop, yarn over, pull through, yarn over, pull through. One more time, yarn over, insert, pull through, pull up, yarn over, pull through, yarn over, pull through. So that is your first cluster. It looks like 4 double crochets, but technically it's 3 double crochets and a chain 3. So this is half of your 4th corner. With a granny square, you are turning a circle into a square. So that means you have to create corners. This is actually going to be the last corner we finish, but you're halfway through. So a corner is essentially 2 clusters in 1 chain space. So what does that mean? I am not gonna chain anymore. I don't like adding extra chains in my granny squares, but it's totally preferential and up to you. Some people like chaining in between every cluster. I don't. It makes it too see-through, if that makes sense, when you start putting garments together. So I'm not gonna chain, but I am gonna yarn over. I'm gonna go into that chain space that we made. Yarn over, pull through. Yarn over, pull through. Yarn over, pull through. So I made another double. I'm gonna make my cluster, so I'm gonna do 2 more doubles. 2. So I have my cluster. I will chain 1 in between each cluster to let me know that that is a corner space. And now here's the corner part. So we did 1 cluster, and now we're going to make another cluster. Yarn over, pull up, pull through. And remember, a cluster is 3 double crochets, traditionally. So we have a cluster, a chain space, and another cluster. I'm gonna repeat that 3 times. So where that chain space is right there, I'm gonna put another 2 clusters. So I'm putting another cluster, which is another 3 double crochets. Boo. So I made my 1 cluster, chain. I'm gonna go ahead and make my next cluster. So now I have 2 clusters, chain space in between. I'm gonna make my 3rd corner. So you see how it's starting to turn? When you add that cluster, it kind of turns the work. It forces the work to curve. So I have 1 full corner, I have a 2nd full corner, and now I'm working on my 3rd corner. Here's my 3rd corner, so I have a half a corner, 1 full corner, 2 full corner, 3 full corner, and now I'm coming back to the original cluster. And so because we have half of it already, we only need to put 1 cluster in that chain space. All right, so there's that chain, or that cluster, chain 1, and now I'm gonna slip stitch into that first V on top. So I'm gonna go under the 2 halves of the V, pull through all the way. So that is row 2. So that is row 2. We have our 4 clusters to begin with, and now we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 clusters for round 2. That brings us to 24 double crochets plus our chain space, or our chain 3 for row 2. So you're going from 3, 6, or not 3, 6, yeah, 3, 6, 9, 12 in your first row to now 24 double crochets in your second row. And you do have to count, sadly, with crochet in the very beginning, but once you get that motion down of how to increase, because we went from 12 to 24, we literally doubled the square. Once you get that motion of increasing, which means putting multiple stitches in one space, you don't have to count. You will learn not to count, because counting is hard. So I'm gonna actually change colors, and I'm gonna show y'all how to do that. Because I know I showed y'all this square in the beginning that had a brown center, but I also made, look at this stack, this beautiful stack. I made 1, 2, 3, 4 that had the brown center, but then I made 4 with the blue center. Because my husband wants a cardigan. All right, so now I'm gonna change colors. I'm gonna grab my brown, I'm gonna make another slip knot. So again, twist, pinch, pull, boom. Sorry if that does not make sense to you. That's how I was taught, my bad. You see how I left a big loop right there? If I pull the working chain or working yarn, it'll lessen the hole. I'm gonna put my hook through the blue. And some people change colors completely different than what I'm showing you. And again, to each his own. Is it right? Is it wrong? No, not really. It's just the way that I learned. I'm gonna take my brown, which has a slip knot on it, slip that on, tighten it, wrap the brown around my hand, and then I'm gonna pull through the blue. I'm gonna take the tail and pull the tail through the blue hole. And now I have brown and blue dots. So I'm gonna take the working yarn of the blue from behind, and I'm gonna tighten it by pulling it so that it closes that gap right there. And I'm gonna hold the working yarn of the blue. I could cut it, but I don't know where my scissors went. I lost them. So now I have the brown that I'm working with. I'm gonna chain 3. 1, 2, 3. And remember, a chain is yarning and pulling over, or pulling through. So I chained 3, yarn over, go backwards into that chain space. When I flip my work over, you see how the working yarn of the blue is on the left? I'm actually gonna wanna go in front of that working yarn of the blue. I'm gonna pull the brown yarn through, pull it up, yarn over, pull through, yarn over, pull through. That pushes the blue yarn backwards so that it doesn't mess up and I'm not catching it when I yarn over and I pull through for my brown. So I'm gonna make 1 cluster of brown. I am not gonna chain because I don't like the extra chain, but you see that chain space? Boop, 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 that one right there. Yarn over, put 1 cluster there, just 1. This is how you know we increased properly, because as you increase in rows, you will find these extra chain spaces. They'll just start popping up because you increased. And so I'm gonna pause right here and show you what I mean. So look, row 1, you made your 4 clusters. Row 2, you made your 4 corners. But now for row 3, you make a corner, you put a cluster, and then you're gonna work another corner. So that when you increase every row, you're gonna add a cluster. So those were your clusters, those were your corners. There's that 3rd row, and then you're gonna add 2 clusters for the 4th row, and then 3 clusters for the 5th row. So every side, you increase a cluster. So you went from just your regular clusters, your square, adding 1 cluster in between your corners, adding 2 clusters in between your corners, and now you're adding 3 clusters in between your corners. And then your corners are these little V shapes that you see, these little flowery petals that you see. Those are your corners. So that's corner 1, corner 2, corner 3, corner 4 right here. So my half of my corner, first cluster, and then I'm working my next corner. Remember, a corner is 2 clusters with a chain in the middle. So I did first cluster, chain, yarn barf. Anytime you pull the yarn out the middle of the skein, you get a clump like that, it's called yarn barf. And now I'm gonna put another cluster. To make my corner. Boom. I'll meet you. Continue this pattern. Corner, cluster, corner, around. So corner, cluster, and now I'm going to work a corner. Boom. Corner, cluster, corner. Oh, I reverted back to my old ways. I like doing, again, 2 clusters or 2 double crochets instead of 3 double crochets. So I'm gonna actually pause right here before I end this row. So I have half a corner, cluster, corner, cluster, corner, cluster, corner, cluster, and now I'm gonna finish this row by adding another cluster. But I wanted to show you, you see how we pushed the blue back? See how we pushed the blue back? We're gonna do the same thing, but with the brown working yarn. So I'm gonna yarn over, I'm gonna go, oh Lord. I'm gonna yarn over, insert my hook, but when I insert it, I want the working yarn for the brown to be right behind that blue. Boom, 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 so that the brown is not in the way. Okay, chain 1, and we're gonna slip stitch into that. So because we chain, I'm not slipping into the chain, I'm slipping into the first V stitch that I see. Boom. And that's row 3. And you just continue the pattern of chaining 3 to start, doing half a corner. Now I'm gonna add clusters in these chain spaces. So like I said earlier, you should have now 2 clusters before you hit your corner. And you're just gonna continue that pattern. Have fun making granny squares. They are my favorite thing to make. And one day I'll teach you how to combine the squares to make something. Yay, have a good day.